Lord laid on my heart that we want to discuss that because we're in the midst of a famine. We need to see how God can bring us out. Sometimes we have to go through different struggles before we get there. But the story of Naomi and Ruth is I don't usually do this, but I want you, when you have a chance, if you don't, I'm going to teach it anyway. And we want to see how it compares to what we're going through right now. Y'all need to be encouraged. Encouraged. Be joyful in everything that you do and know that God has done this for a reason. That story will tell you why he did it, why he allowed it, and how he brought them out. And I think that would be something good for you all to look into. So while we were doing that, the Lord spoke to me and said, give you all a subject, Naomi and Ruth. And we're going to talk about it. And let's see what we can find in that story that we can equate with what we're going through right now. Suffering the unknown, things happening, not knowing how we're going to come out, but yet how God brought her out. Because you don't always see where God is taking you. But we're not in this for no reason. Sometimes people run out of the church during the famine. They'll quit. They give up. But they find that when God brings it up, God will remove that and we'll find our way back home. So I want you all to look into that, see what you can see in that. And I pray that you all will do this and study. It'll be a blessing to you. The story of Ruth, you can so identify with what's happening right now. Some people say, wait a minute. I'm in the house of bread. Bethel was the house of bread. And they left because of the hardships and went to a pagan land. Some people will leave something solid and go out into a pagan land because the devil messes with our mind. He messes with our sight, our spiritual sight, and we lose sight of who God really is. But God can be what we want him to be in the midst of the famine. If we can look beyond that, and we can believe beyond what we're experiencing right now, God will take us through. As a matter of fact, maybe God wanted this even to be a final word. Went out there and lost everything she had, running from the problem, running to a pagan land. Listen, people will run out to church. They will backslide during times like this. But you got to stay focused. This is for somebody. Don't backslide and give up because of what we're struggling with. Now you're isolated. Now you're alone. The enemy is going to try to attack you in whatever way he can. But you know what? In that story, God sent her somebody to take care of her. And that was Ruth. And how God brought them out of it. How she had to go back home because she got a word. There's not plenty. There's not plenty in Israel. It doesn't matter what you're going through. There's plenty where we are. He's a God of plenty. He will give us. He will replenish us. Nobody in here right now, nobody in this space is suffering. You know why? Because wherever the famine is, God is there. So I want you to remember that. And we may touch on that just a little bit, but I wanted to leave an encouraging word with you. Not only that should have been the end. No, maybe God want me to go and tell you now. That might have been the end of it. But let me tell you what God did. She didn't know the purpose, but God knew she would go back alone. Odds was against her surviving. She would have died alone. She was too old to go out in the fields. She was too old to do the other things that she needed to do to survive. But he sent her a daughter-in-law that treated her like a mother. And she was from a pagan religion. And yet, because she saw an example of a godly woman in her mother-in-law, Ruth became a descendant of Jesus Christ. And not only that, but she got to live and be taken care of and nursed and brought up her grandson as long as she could. She was right there to reap the benefits of trusting God. She didn't lose her faith in the pagan land. They came against her, but Ruth had to come out of paganism and go into a land she knew not of, but she knew one thing, that what she saw exhibited in her mother-in-law, she wanted to have it. Are we having that influence today with those around us, letting them know that, but God? But we're going through all this, but God. That's how we ought to be thinking. We ought to be rejoicing. Because once she came out, she had more than what she had. Oh my God, she went back. The house was dilapidated, it had to be rebuilt. And sometimes because of injuries, we need to be built up again. But don't you ever leave the church for that. Don't let the enemy run you out by saying everybody's the enemy. He will show delusions when you're in the desert of your trial. In the desert means, I know we're all going through it, but I'm here by myself. The enemy has a chance to mess with your mind. Don't let him do it. Don't say, oh, but I wish we were back. No, we got God. We got him, and he wants to prove to you that he's even better. He's closer than a brother or sister. Oh my God. Do you know the opportunity you have for God to reveal himself in the plague? I can give you so many examples of how God showed himself in the plague. Before they knew what was going to hit them, God already knew. God had already prepared. And God's going to bring us out. If we don't do anything else, hold on to your salvation. Let's hold on to each other and pray for one another. I don't want nobody to be lost in the famine, because the famine will be over. The storm is passing over.